Everyone, check out this huge tub of flowers here. This is what we're going to be playing with today. I actually have a few on my desk here, so let me just get set up and I'll be right with you. Hello again, everyone. So, look at this mess of nasty flowers. Some of them are so limp and random colors. How many times have you passed these things up at the thrift shop not knowing what you would do with them? Like they're pretty beat up. A lot of times when you find them at thrift shops or garage sales, they're covered in dust and grime. And if you wanted to buy new ones, why would you? They're expensive, and you can get some nice cheap ones that are clean at the dollar store if you want. But I like going to thrift shops and garage sales and picking this stuff up. A lot of times when they're dirty, they're in a box that's marked free, and you can usually get them for free. How to clean them? Easy. Fill your sink up with hot soapy water, like your dish soap water, and just pull the heads. I usually pull the heads and the leaves right off the stems and throw them right into the water and, swish it around a little bit, and you'll see that grime coming off. And then I stick them in the other sink and rinse off the soap and let them air dry. Now, you will have flowers that fray a little bit, where you'll start to see strings hanging off of them. That's okay. For what we're going to do with them, we're going to fix that up. Like, now this one here, I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not, but there is a little bit of fraying. But sometimes they're really stringy, and that's okay. We can use all those. So what I'm going to do today is show you how to make some beautiful millinery type flowers that you can use on your journals as well as in other projects. Maybe you're into making hats. Maybe you want to make a fancy corsage to put on a dress or a little girl's dress. And if you've ever priced millinery flowers, they are very, very expensive. And we can achieve that for pennies. You are going to need a heat gun because we're going to be doing some melting, and we are going to be going outside. Now, just talking about a heat gun makes me want to ask you a question that you probably already know the answer to. If you're in the forest, and you know that they say that a cigarette butt, a match, a spark from an ATV vehicle or like all-terrain vehicle, all of those can take down an entire forest, right? So my question to you is, if this can take down an entire forest, a little matchstick, a cigarette butt, ATV, spark from an ATV, why would you bring fire into your studio? Can you imagine, with all the paper and the vintage stuff and, the dried things, what can happen in your craft room or your studio with one match, one spark, well, not that you'd get an ATV in here, but, well, maybe, but one little spark. So I don't use candles in my room. I don't use lighters to melt things. I don't use anything where there's a flame. I do use a heat gun, and 99.99999% of the time I use it outside. I don't even use it in my craft room. I go outside to use it, even in the winter. If I'm doing a project and I need something right away, I will go outside. On a very rare occasion, I will test a piece of fabric by using the heat gun to see if it melts or not. But even there, I don't like the idea of the smell because I'm sure it's killing brain cells, and I've already killed off a lot. So I don't even like to use my heat gun just for testing. But I will on occasion if I'm in a hurry, regret it after because it smells, and I will use it. So for today, I'm going to be showing you how we're going to take these flowers apart, and then we're going to reconstruct them. And then I'm going to take you outside with the heat gun and show you how to make this work. It's a lot of fun. It's going to really get you excited about so many other options and possibilities, because, you know, I will break this down into how we take it apart, how we adhere everything and get everything to work, and then other possibilities. I was going to do this in 2 weeks, but I'm actually going to do this. I'm going to try and do it in 2 parts or less. If I can do it all today in one video, then that's great. If not, it'll be a 2-part video, but both will air today. Because I want to get into the jewelry and stuff next. So yeah, we're going to play around and see what happens, and just have fun today. So to get started, I'm going to start with just this rose first, and then I'm going to use some of these small flowers. I take them right off the stem, and it's not always easy. Like this one has a stem that's joined. There we go. And so this is all joined, and then I keep the leaves. Now this has a wire in it, so I don't want the wire. I'm just going to pull the leaves right off of the plastic. And you know, how many times have you worked with flowers and the leaves just fall off? So these I'm going to just take off like that. And of course this one's not going to come so easy. The rest of the leaves I'll do after. Now, because this is one solid piece, I will discard this. I don't keep the wires anymore. I have quite a few wires, but you know, if you don't have a lot of wires, sometimes they're handy to have for other projects. But here's this rose, and I'm going to pull all the petals off of it. 3, 4, 5. Now, every once in a while, you will find that flowers have these other plastic, sort of like it's not a stamen, it's just a kind of a shaper to hold it in that rose shape. I'm going to pull that off. It's just a piece of plastic. But I have another project coming up later on this year, and so I'm going to tell you to keep all this stuff. You can see I've already gotten started. I did keep the stems from some leaves. They're just the plastic parts. I've kept some of these fancier leaves that are at the bottom of roses. I've kept the centers, some other flat pieces, and then some of your flowers come with these styrofoam eggs inside, which are kind of cool to use for other things. But if you can, you know, not everybody wants to do this, and not everybody wants to do the kind of stuff that I do. But I call these oddities, you know, found objects and weird stuff, and just start yourself a little freezer bag full, and just keep them, because eventually we're going to play with this stuff. And again, you know how much I love to repurpose everything and reuse everything. You know, if you get to the point where you have too much, then don't keep it, because you will be making a lot of these flowers. But do keep a good stash, because later on when I say, oh, we're going to do this project today, you'll have that stash ready. And I'm going to be getting you to add all kinds of things to this stash. So we'll call it the weird object stash. How's that? That's what it's going to be called, the weird object stash. And we're just going to keep collecting this until we get to a point where we have enough to play with. The things I make you do. Yeah, that's from all that melting plastic and brain cells thing. Just kidding. Okay, so I'm putting all of this together here just for now, and here's another one of those pieces that are used to form the roses. And now I've pulled out the whole center of it, and that's okay. We're keeping that too. And then sometimes you get even a whole plastic kind of a flower here. So it depends on the flowers. They are all different. Now these ones, when I pull them apart, we've got this little piece here that's just plastic stems. We're going to keep that. And then we're going to take out the plastic stamen. And it doesn't matter if you pull it from the front or the back, because this is actually 2 pieces. When you're working with your flowers, you'll see how this works. And every flower is different. Every flower has a different type of center, which you'll see. And so I'm just going to pull some of these apart. And then all this is going to go into my weird objects. How's that? Weird objects. Love it. Okay, pulling that one apart. And then my favorite actually is always to work with the ivories and white colors. So, you know, sometimes you can get these big nasty roses at the, again, I'm not keeping this one, although there is this one from the leaf that I'm keeping. You can get these big nasty roses at Dollarama or whatever, Dollar Tree, whatever you have in your area, Dollar General or something, I think. So I'm going to take this one apart too. There's many layers here. And yeah, each flower has a different method of how they shape the flower. Some are shaped by how they emboss them, while others have these little plastic parts in here in little bits. So throw that in my box. So I've got that one taken apart. Oop. And I'm going to take this one apart. And this one is fun because you get a lot of layers. So you can actually just use these as they are on your projects. Like there's two here. I'm just going to take it apart if I can. Sometimes they glue them. Oh, here we go. So you can use a flower just like that. You know, add a little brad in the center or a little button or something. And you can see just from taking apart one flower how many layers you get. That's 3, 4, 5. And they get smaller, of course. 6, 7. Oh, here's another one of those stem things in here, and this one's a little bit different. It's broken, but that's okay. 7, 8, 9. So 10 flowers out of one flower. If you wanted to just use these like this, you could even layer these up, right? You could put 2 together. You know how we have the different dies for cutting different flowers and stuff? So 2 together, they're already embossed. Easy peasy. Put a brad in there, and you've got an instant little page decoration. You can use it as a tab. You can use it as a page element. You can use it as a tag topper. You know, put it through the hole at the top of a tag. They're cute. Absolutely gorgeous. So don't rule out that option of using these as well. Same with these little tiny ones. And you can mix and match them to do the same thing. To use it as a flower on your projects, just like that. Okay, I want to do these blue ones. And I want to pull some of these. Okay, there's some blue ones, and here's one of these leaves. And you want to make sure there isn't any plastic on it. We're taking the plastic off. So here again, you could take this leaf, because it's got a hole in it, so the work is done for you. You could put this flower on top, choose a smaller one, put that on top of there, put a brad in the center. I think I even have some brads here. I mean, it's not the greatest looking one, but so you can feed them on individually and make yourself a flower. Just like that. Super easy, right? But we're going to have more fun, I promise. So these blue ones have another little plastic stamen in them that I'm going to keep. And all this plastic I'm keeping in my weird objects box. It's going to be a bag eventually. And then there's some smaller leaves here. And just double check to make sure there's no plastic on them. So you have a nice assortment. You'll be looking at the yard sales now a lot differently when you go shopping. Oh, here's a good one. This one's a good one. This has 2 layers. It's got this ugly plastic thing that we're keeping, and this other plastic thing. And it's only 2 layers, but you could make a flower just like that if you wanted. But this kind of, again, it's kind of nasty looking, right? So I'm going to take a few more of these apart. Now, it is windy outside when I go outside to do this, and it'll be noisy, of course, so you'll have to just bear with me when I'm doing that. Okay, so I've got those taken apart, and I want to do this red one and this orange one. So this red one, let's start with the leaf here. The leaves are, that's not a rose leaf, but taking that right off the plastic, so it's just a loose leaf. And some of these you have to get a pair of pliers to pull them off, but I should be able to get this one off. Maybe not. Okay, got it. Some of them are glued on every layer, and I'm going to show you one of those. So this one, if I take it apart, look at how much, like this is huge, right? It's about 5 or 6 inches. Just looking at 14 to 9. So it's about 5 inches in diameter. And there's 1, 2, and 3. Some with a little bit of paint. 4. Here's a weird thing. 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So there's 9 layers on here, but this is a really big flower. However, you can certainly use it just like this. Again, just put a brad in it or a button or something in the center, and you've got a nice flower to use on your journals or your other projects. But they're very limp, which is another thing I don't like about them being like that. So here was another one I had taken apart. I'm just going to put that together with this pile here. And then this is one that I took apart that has a lot of glue on it because they glued it around that styrofoam egg shape thing that I showed you. So if you can peel the glue off, it's great. If not, I turn them over the other way, and there's still a lot of glue on this side too. I do use them, and I will show you one after that's done. They're a little bit more nasty, and you need to do a little bit more work to them to make them not look so ugly, but they're certainly doable. So I will do this one as well. And then I really wanted to do this orange one because I love the different colors on here. And this one, I think I need to yank off the stem. It's probably glued. Yeah. So it doesn't hurt to have a pair of pliers. Now this one is got some glue on it. I can see that. Yeah. Okay, we're going to keep this leaf and use that. Again, no plastic stems on there. Now this one comes apart in 2 leaves. Or maybe I ripped it. Oh, 1 leaf. Oh, maybe that was part of this one. No, there's a hole in it. Oh, okay. So you can see how tough it is to get some of these apart. And there is a lot of glue on this one, but again, there's ways to cover it up so we don't notice it so much. Thelma, if you're watching, I know you're shaking your head and you're laughing. Thelma and I have made a lot of flowers together, but I don't think she's made them like this. She loves making millinery style flowers. So she's going to absolutely love doing these. I know it. Okay, just bear with me one more second while I get this one apart, and then we'll start on to the next stage. So it's like peeling an onion sometimes. So because this is a weird thing, we're keeping it, right? We never know when we're going to use these things. So I keep all these. Now this is a little piece of plastic stem I won't keep, but I keep all this kind of stuff, and eventually it gets used. Okay, so now that I've got them apart, I have some pins here, and I'm just going to pin things together. But I'm going to add another item to this mix, and that's a little bit of this crinoline. Now, crinoline you can find, you know, if you go to the thrift shops and you find a little girl's dress with a big poofy skirt, usually you can find pieces of crinoline underneath. Crinoline is just a heavier plastic tool, which we're going to use today. So I want to use some of this, but you can use your other tool as well. It's just that I had this handy, and so this is what I'm using. So any kind of tool or mesh will work fine. So I'm going to cut a couple of squared off pieces. Nothing fancy. And then I'm going to put the square together and fold it and make it round. Like an ice cream cone, cutting it like an ice cream cone. And so then when you open up, it is reasonably round. It's kind of loopy, but that's okay. It's still round. And then I'm just going to make some little cuts into it, so it looks like petals. Okay? Nothing perfect, and you want a reasonably big center. You don't want to cut right to the center, otherwise you risk cutting them off or melting them off. So I'm going to do the same thing with this one, just folding it in half and folding it in half again, and you've got that point. I mean, you could cut a circle, but this is just as fast. Round cornering it. In this case, I didn't fold it that much, so it's like a really big ice cream cone coming down to a point. I hope you guys can see that when I say this. And these scraps, I will keep them for my own use afterwards. You don't have to, but I do use them because, you know, I use everything. And I'm just making some cuts into it to make it look sort of like petals. And I'm going to start building a flower. So I'm going to take this one that has these really large petals, and I'm going to lay it down on top of the netting or the tulle, and then take a second one and layer that on top. Now I can use all the same color. I'm going to put another piece of this netting. I can use all of the same color if I want, or I can mix and match the colors, which is what I'm going to do because I had taken apart this ivory flower. So I'm going to put a couple layers of the ivory. And so now I have a layer of tulle, a couple layers of these petals, another layer of tulle, and then another couple layers of these petals. I'm just going to pin it together for now so I don't have to keep holding it. And I'm going to cut myself another piece of tulle. Folding it in half, folding it in half again, you know, folding it into a finer piece. And you can see I'm not doing a perfect job. As long as you have a point somewhere at the end there and just rounding it off a little bit so it looks more like a round circle. And then just taking my scissors and I'm going to cut into it to give it that petal effect. Okay, so now I'm going to put this on top. Take my pin out. And I'm going to take some more of this coral flower, but I'm going to take the smaller petals this time. And put that down. And then put one more. Yeah, these are so limp. And put one more like that. And then I'm going to, where'd my pin go? Here it is. I'm going to pin it together. So I'm going to continue doing this. Now that's quite a large, floppy type flower. Again, you could certainly use this on your journals like this. Add some lace and some type of a beaded center, or a button in the center or a brad, and you can use it. But we're going to continue to make these flowers and with different petals, and I'm going to interchange the colors, but you can do them all the same color. And I need some more tulle. Okay, so I used 3 on that one, so I might as well just cut 3 now. Now, I don't put the tulle on every single flower, but for these ones I will. Might as well do it 3 times in a row. You guys get to watch all this today. After all, it's going to be in 2 parts, right? Or maybe 3 parts, I don't know. Moment of silence while I do my cutting. Okay, so 2 pieces of pink, and I'm going to have the tulle on the bottom. And it's okay if it goes past the size of the flower petals. And then I'm going to put another piece here. And let's see what goes nicely. We'll use the same pink for now. I'm going to put a smaller couple of pink ones on here. And then one more round of the tulle. And just for fun, I'm going to use some of these bigger flowers, or these daisies, whatever they are. I think it was a chrysanthemum type flower. And then where'd my pins go? Here they are. I'm going to just pin it in the center just to hold it so I don't have to worry about it for now. And just leave it like this. And I'm going to continue doing these off camera. Some of these smaller flowers, I'm just going to put 2 or 3 layers together. I think I'll put 3. And no other stuff with it. Just pin this together. And then some of these other smaller ones. Oh, I have some here. I'm just going to put them in layers of 2. And I do like to kind of stagger them a little bit. Yeah, Thelma, I can see you shaking your head right now. I can see it. I'm going to continue to do this off camera, and then I will, or I'm going to stop the camera and do this, and then I will show you them all pinned together, and we'll take it from there. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm done the first round here. So these are some of the flowers that I've pinned together. Now I've left a few of these smaller flowers loose as individual flowers. So I'm going to show you how I do those ones as well, because sometimes I like these little flowers separate. And then I pinned some of them together with some of the leaves that came off of other flower stems, because it was a nice cluster of leaves all on one. So I see if I can show you one here. Must have, so something like this is what I used. So same with this one, I just pinned that on the back, and I did 2 layers of flowers on this one. No tulle. This one I just had a little corner leaf that I'm using. And then this one has one of these small flowers in the center, and I just layered back and forth. And I like this variegated look here, sort of the veins in the flower petals. So we'll see how that turns out. And then there's another one, but this time I did the darker center because these flowers are in 2 different colors. And then this was just a couple of roses that I took apart. I used a little bit of tulle on this one just because I had it. This one, no tulle. And they don't have to have tulle. I'm just putting them. This flower I liked. It was just 3 layers by itself. So I just pinned it together, and we'll play with that. And then another one of those. And then this one I did multi-layers here. This was the very glued up flower. But on top, you know, I hid all that underneath. You can still see a little bit of the glue, but hopefully we won't see very much of it by the time we're done. And, you know, I just added more layers of the other roses into the center and the other little flower to finish it off. This is going to be a pretty one, I think, if we can get around that glue. And then there's more here. So there's one here that's all of those rose petals, no tulle in between. A mix of several different flowers here. This was that, excuse me, red flower. And again, I just pinned a variety of things in between and a little bit of tulle just to see what happens. This one's a really big one, but by the time we're done, it won't be quite that big. But it's about, let's see, 10 down to 5. It's about 5.5 inches wide right now. So it's a pretty big flower. But, you know, if you're making a hat or a fascinator, now here's another one that is multi-layers. I've got the tulle, and I think you've seen me put this together. This is the one that had the petals that were falling apart. And a couple of blue ones without any netting, but I did do them. This one has 3 layers, and this one has 3 layers, and this one has 4 layers, I think. Forget. And then I've, again, pinned a few singles. This is one you saw me do. And this is another one you saw me do. So these are all the flowers that I'm going to demonstrate with today. And I'm taking up another tray with the leaves. Where's my other tray? Because we're going to do some leaves as well. And we're going outside, but for now, I'm just going to take this upstairs, and I will set up the camera upstairs because I had already taken my tools upstairs. And I'm going to do a quick demonstration of how I'm going to do this, just in case it's too loud for you to hear me outside. Now, I don't know how to turn the volume down, so if it's too loud outside, you can just turn down the volume yourself. Oh, I see this one still has a piece of plastic on it. Ideally, you want to get all of this plastic off. So, and this one looks like it was very dusty, so I don't know how well this one's going to turn out, but it might have had some flocking on it when I washed it, you know. Sometimes they have, you know, little fuzzies on them. And sometimes they turn out and sometimes they don't. But you know what? If they don't turn out, file G, right? Worst case scenario. But you'd be amazed at what we can do with these and how we can use everything. Because I like to use everything. So I'm going to take this upstairs, set up the camera inside briefly to show you, give you a quick demonstration of how I'm going to actually use my heat gun on these. And then I will go outside, and just in case it's too loud, you will see how it's done, hopefully close up enough that you can see it. Yeah, I'll figure that out as we go along. And then after that, we'll have another part where I show you the finished flowers all together, because I won't do all of these on camera. I will do a few of them on camera for you to see, you know, a little bit of everything. And then I will come downstairs here and set up the camera again. So that might be into part 2. I'm not sure. And then I will show you how we finish these flowers. Okay, I'll see you shortly. Okay, here I am. I am just at my dining room table here. If there's an echo, it's because we were moving things around while we get ready for the next round of renovations. Long story, but I'll save it for another day. I have a metal tray here that I'm going to be working on my flowers. Just an old beat up tray that I picked up at the thrift shop. Perfect for doing these things. And it's not something that we eat off of, as you can tell. And then I have a heat gun. And I have a metal tool to hold my flowers in place. I like to have a long tool only because I don't want to burn my fingers or, feel the heat. So, a skewer, or, maybe you have a metal fondue fork or something like that that you can use to hold your pieces down. Especially outside in the wind, but also you're making wind when you're using the heat gun. So what I will do is I will now take a flower, and I will do this outside as well, and I take the pin out and I will hold the flower in place with the skewer, just holding it like that, just putting a little bit of pressure so it's not going to blow away on me, not only from the wind but from the fan of the heat gun. So you have to do what I call sneaking up on your flower. Now I'm going to be working on a tabletop outside that is glass. So again, I'm not worried about the heat penetrating through onto the table because, yeah, I've melted a few of my tabletops for doing stupid things like this. So you always want to make sure that you're working on a surface that can stand the heat and not melt or burn. So metal tray, glass or metal tabletop, and a tool to keep your fingers out of the way. That is the most important thing. Once this turns on, it does take a while to heat up and it's noisy. And I have a tendency to do this from two different approaches, from the top, going down, as well as on the side and sneaking up on the flower. That's what I call it, sneaking up and slowly melting. Now, you have to practice a few times. You're going to burn some flowers. You're going to melt them beyond recognition as flowers, but don't give up on them. They will still work okay. And you're going to cause big holes in some of the laces or netting that as you're doing this. That's all part of learning how to do this. So start off lightly. Start off away. It takes a few minutes, or at least my heat gun takes a few minutes to get really, really hot. But start further away around your flower slowly, and you can put your heat gun down or turn it off briefly and turn your flower to start doing the other side. And as well as going all the way around doing the outside, I do like to go from the top. And what's going to happen is you're going to see the petals will start to crunch up and they'll melt up a little bit. And yeah, you don't want to burn them. So if you start to see it turning a little bit yellowy, then go a little bit further away. But practice, of course, makes perfect. And, even as a seasoned melter, flower melter, I often burn flowers because you forget. You get a little cocky sometimes, and you try to get it all done, and you will start to see the flower melt and scrunch up like this as you're going along. So the heat coming directly down over top will bring the petals up, but at the same time you want to bring the petals in. So that's why I hit it from the outside all the way around, and then from the top after. And you'll just see, and as the flower forms, you're going to love it. You're going to start to see things changing, and the flower is melting. Now, if by chance that you had some paper flowers, because sometimes it's easy to mistake a paper flower for a material flower, you're going to find out that it burns. And you're also, on a very rare occasion, although they call these silk flowers, there is no silk in them for the most part. And that is because silk or cotton will not melt. It will burn. So when you see how quickly these melt, it's an indication that you're dealing with synthetic fibers. When you see how quickly that these melt, It is also going to bring back a thought process that if you have children or grandchildren, it is best to dress them in 100% cotton or natural fibers, not synthetic fibers, because this is just a perfect example. If a spark can take down a forest, what can a spark do to those fancy little girls' dresses that are made out of polyester and nylon? Just a precaution as a parent, you know, that I couldn't imagine seeing a little girl's dress go up in flames, but go online on YouTube. You'll see some sick stories. So yeah, just keep those things in mind. And it's always, you know, err on the side of caution. Always do, you know, whatever you can to be safe doing this, because yes, it's going to get hot. Once you've got your flour the way you like it, shut off your heat gun, and you can lift up the skewer, and a good portion of this will be adhered to each other. But there's going to be layers, like the bottom couple layers, that aren't going to be adhered. They'll be melted. Just take your pin and pin it back together until you can get it into your studio and do your either gluing it or stitching it or whatever, because some layers are not going to stick. You might have these three will be stuck together and these three, and then they'll come apart. That's not an issue. Just pin them back together till you get down to your studio or into your studio, and then I will show you how to do the next steps. The other thing is leaves. So again, if you're doing a leaf, I do one at a time. I sneak up on it by coming around on the sides a little bit. This is where you get all the frayed edges and they melt right into each other. If ever you're working with fabric that frays a lot and you want to stop the fraying because you're making a project, take it outside, take your heat gun along the edges and melt the edges. If it doesn't melt, you know you're dealing with 100% natural fibers. If it melts, then you know that you're getting rid of the fraying. And this is where I test fabric. Sometimes I don't always know what the makeup of it is, and so I will take fabric outside and just melt a little corner to see, because fabric that will melt will also shape into flowers and make really interesting flowers. You know, you can cut it up with your die cutting machine, you can cut it by hand, you can cut them into circle layers and layer them on top to make beautiful cabbage roses. I'll save that for another day. But yeah, so you can test your fabrics doing the same method, but do it outside, because, you know, we want to keep as many of our brain cells as we can for as long as we can, because we're going to be doing some other funky, crafty stuff coming up. So yeah, the leaves, just go around it from the one side. You know, if you can twist around it, that's great. I either just turn the tray to get the other side or turn the flower. But do be careful. This will be hot. And depending on your fabrics, it might be a little bit melted hot. So just be careful with that from that point of view too, and you can do the other side. You can also, again, come from the top. It will cause kind of a bubbling effect and now leave some really nice embossed impressions in your leaves. And you'll get to see some of that. Now I'm going outside. I'm going to set this up outside, so I have to stop the camera again. It may flow into part 2 because I might have run out of time depending on how much time is used here. So it might flow into part 2, and we will do part 2 where we're melting the flowers outside and decorating them afterwards when we bring them into my studio. So that's it for now. Stay tuned. There'll be more.